Sorry, but I was digging that music so much I couldn't turn it off. So we are going to make the Cuban, the famous Cuban sandwich, or El Cubano, as they say in Cuba. So this takes time. I just want you to know that. But if you want to get an award-winning Cuban sandwich, let's take some time and do it right, okay? First off, I'm going to need 2 cups of lime juice. Not just any lime juice, but freshly squeezed lime juice. And trust me when I say it is worth it. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. And because I'm doing it, there's very little effort, because cooking's easy in my book. That's our tagline, cooking's freaking easy. And it's true. So I'm going to keep squeezing. I got about 10 limes. And here's your first tip. When you're selecting limes in the store, pick it up. If it feels heavier than it looks, that's a good one. Good juice. And roll them before you cut them. Super important. I always roll them around. That gets everything moving around, all the juices. Then when you use one of these little presses here to get it out, you get more juice out. I don't know why, but it works. So this is my final little few limes that I got going on here. And it equals 2 cups. The lime juice is going to be part of our marinade for this massive pork butt roast I got waiting. Wait till you see it. It's a big one. So I have 2 cups here, and to this we're going to add a few other savory elements that's going to create the bomb diggity marinade. So first off is pepper. 1.5 tablespoons of pepper. It's a lot of pepper, sure, but it's also a lot of flavor, and it's a big old piece of meat. Next is cumin, the exact same amount. 1.5 tablespoons of cumin. And I'm going to finish off this little wee bottle because that's all I got anyway. So, bam. If it's a little over, who cares? It's cumin. It's going to be good. And finally, oregano. And I'm using Mexican oregano this time, or Mexican oregano. It just has a little more flavor than traditional Italian oregano. I don't know why, but it does. And again, same amount, 1.5 tablespoons. Doesn't it already, just tell you it's going to taste awesome? Wait till I add this. This is a 1/4 cup of garlic. Crushed garlic. There's quite a bit of garlic in this. But once you see my meat, you'll see why. It's sizable. So, let's keep on stirring and get it all in there. Now, did I not tell you that I had a good-sized pork butt in there? Look at this monster. It barely fits in my 9x13, but it does fit. So I'm going to score it, and I'm going to do a deep score, 3 slices across the grain. And we're going to go as deep as that bone in there will let us go. And then we're going to season this baby up. So 3 times on this side. And we're also going to score it 3 times on the other side in the opposite direction. What? This allows maximum marinade to get through to the center of this big old pork butt. So let's give this thing a flip. Oh wait, first we're going to salt it. Sorry for the camera angle, but you can see what I'm doing here. I'm pulling them apart to get that salt way down in there. And we're going to salt this baby up. Give her a flip-a-doo. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. And like I said, 3 slices across. And this time we're going in the opposite direction. And then once again, we're going to salt this baby up. And you want to go heavy on the salt. It is a huge piece of meat after all, and you're going to dump liquid all over it. The salt not only acts as flavor bomb, but it also helps tenderize it, as well as that lime juice. It's going to help tenderize it. The citric acid inside there. And wait until you see when this thing comes out of the oven. Holy crap, is it something to be seen. It is a sight. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to marinate this side of it. And you can see at first I'm using a measuring cup just to make sure I get down in those cracks. That's all. Because I'm not going to dump the whole thing on just yet. I want to make sure and get down in there first. Then we're going to dump that baby on there. So once I feel I did a good job, I'm going to give her a flip-a-doo. Carefully this time. And we're going to do the same thing. And then we're going to dump the marinade on there. And here's the deal. I told you it takes time and it's worth the time. So this is going to, after I get all this marinade on there, it's going to marinate in my refrigerator overnight. Super important if you want the flavorist, most flavor-tastic Cuban sandwich you ever had in your life. Plus it helps tenderize the meat like I was saying earlier as well. So you can see I've picked up my vessel here and I'm just going to fill it up. And I have the fat cap down. That's only for tonight's marinating. In the morning, before I stick it in the oven, I'm going to flip it over. Now, this is going to go in the oven tomorrow morning and bake at 250 degrees, covered 8 to 10 hours. Depends on the size of your meat. I got a big old pork butt, so I did it for 10 hours. And boy howdy, my house smelled good all day long. And the meat was so good and tender. Let's get this where you can see it better. Look at all that marinade, all that flavor on top. So I'm going to cover it in foil. And I'm going to cover it as tight as I can. And we're going to stick it in the refrigerator overnight. I know that may sound like more time than you're willing to put in for it, but you get out of it what you put into it. This is one of those things that'll be a great Sunday dinner, great for a big old family dinner or a picnic. It doesn't matter. And I made so much of it because I am making this for a big family get-together dinner. And it made a bunch. And I still had plenty left over, which is now in the freezer because it freezes good too. So let's fast forward to the next morning. This is about 6 a.m. in the morning. So I'm going to gently, so I don't splash, because I love to splash and make messes. I'm going to gently turn this baby over so the fat cap is on the upside. And the reason for that is that fat's going to render and get down in there, and fat equals flavor, people. We're not going to eat it. What's left of the fat cap, I'm going to take off and separate from the rest of the meat. But it's necessary at this point. So it's going to stay on there. And the rewards are awesome. So I'm going to cover this in foil. Again, using the same foil as last night, so as not to be wasteful. I'm going to get down as tight as I can. Now, if you have a deep enough pan with a lid, even better. But this worked out just great. And I'm going to stick it in the oven, once again at 250 degrees, for 10 hours. Worth it, people. Worth it. It's been 10 hours. Who's excited? I know I'm excited. How about the crowd? Is the crowd excited? I sure hope so, because here it comes. Now this is super hot underneath, so be careful when you're lifting the foil off, because you're going to get a steam bath. And this is a hot, hot, hot steam bath. So it's not going to feel too good. So as always, just open it away from you. Let the steam out before you lift it all the way up. Booyah! Would you just look at that? And the crowd goes wild. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What's really going to blow your mind is when I look at this bone. Look at that clean bone slip right out of there. You know this pork is tender and delicious. Holy crap. And then look at this. You barely turn it, meat's falling apart. And it's so juicy and full of flavor. It's amazing. Truly, truly amazing. Now I'm just going to use my tongs here, and I'm going to remove what's left of the fat cap, and then, which is that right there, put it in a thanks for you not ended up in my meat bowl, but on the other side is my meat bowl, where I'm putting all of this tender, tender meat. Look at that, it just comes right off. Have you ever seen a pork butt so tender in all your life? And this was cooked in the oven. Holy moly, I'm telling you what. Look at this big old hunks of meat coming right off, going in the bowl. I'm going to leave them in large chunks. And then I'm going to put some of that juice in there with all the flavor and some of the fat into that bowl just to make sure it stays moist. Otherwise, it could dry out on you. And we don't want that. Who wants dried pork butt? Nobody. So let me show you when I get more done. I will take a break. Be right back. Lucky for me, there is a ton of meat inside this pork butt. And I have a lot But I needed a lot for tonight, and then I needed a lot because we're going to make this again. Everybody went ape shit crazy over it. It's that good. I'm talking ape shit crazy. You don't do that every day for a sandwich. You do for the Cuban. Holy moly. Now, like I said, take some of that juice and pour it over the meat in whatever vessel you have your meat in. It'll help it from drying out, and it'll also just, keep the flavor all around it. And I'm not putting a whole lot in there. Out of this huge thing, I maybe put a cup of liquid in there. That's it. 1 cup, big deal. Let's do it! So I sliced it in half. Wasn't that magical? I did it off camera. I forgot to hit record. Anyway, I sliced it in half. We're going to flip this baby over, and we're going to start it out. Now, this is a French bread. You can use any kind of bread you want. I used a French bread because I'm making a big old honkin' Cuban. Hello. So we're going to put this on a cookie sheet. You can use hoagie buns. You can even use bread. I would use sourdough. But you can also use hamburger buns too. So, first things first, we put yellow mustard. Super important. We're not doing Dijon. Yellow mustard is a staple for the Cuban. On top of that, we are going to put on some Swiss cheese. Why Swiss cheese? Because that's what the Cubans put on their Cuban sandwiches. Swiss cheese. So let's do that. On that same side, you're going to put sliced ham right over top of the cheese. And overlap it, just like I did the cheese, because you need that. Yep, I know we just spent 10 hours cooking the pork roast, but you need the ham on there as well. There is a big fat hairy difference. So, because it's, deli sliced, that's not enough. So I'm going to put meat both ways, because you want to be able to taste the ham as well. Nothing needs to get lost in this. Okie doke. Now, what are we going to do with that other bun, the other half of that bun that looks all lonely and stuff over there? Well, I've infused some garlic and olive oil. And you're just going to lightly dab it on there. Just lightly. And this gives you additional flavor to the bread, as well as to the sandwich as a whole. Ah, snap. Here it comes. On top of that garlicky side of the bread, we're going to be putting our delicious, soft and tender pork roast. And get your flesh mitts in there. Use your fingers. Feel your food. So we're going to put it on there, and we're not going to be shy about this at all either. I just spent 10 hours cooking this roast. You're going to know there's pork roast on this sandwich. So fill it up as high as you want it. Don't put like a foot of beef on there. You got to be able to close this baby up eventually. Once we get all this on there, we're going to top that with some more Swiss cheese on that side over top of the meat. And then we're going to stick it in the oven. What? Wait a minute, Jimmy. You're supposed to press these. Well, hold your horses, peeps. We're going to put this in the oven just to make sure everything gets warmed through and the cheese melts. Ain't nothing worse than biting into a Cuban at some scrub restaurant and the cheese isn't even melted. What the hell's that? We don't do that way around here. We do it up right at Jimmy Dick's Kitchen. Okie doke. So let's put some cheese on this bad boy. Cheesy goodness. And overlap them babies as well. Alright, so we're ready to go in the oven. 350 degrees ought to do it for about 5 minutes at the most. Keep an eye on it. You don't want to burn this up, but look at that melty cheese. Now there's something missing, Jimmy. Pickles. That's right, pickles. I like the sliceable stacker pickles because look at that. 2 of them goes right across there. Great. You can always trim them up if you need to, but you gotta have pickle on this. You just have to. It's the law. It's not a Cuban without dill pickle. Now I can't decide which one to flip. I finally did, and we're going to go quickly. Boom. Ooh, I almost lost it. We can't have that. Get back in there, meat. So, I'm transferring that to a cutting board because now it's time for the panini press. Now I have to cut this sandwich in half because I used a big old honkin' loaf of French bread, and there's no way it'll fit in my panini press. But if you don't have a panini press, no worries at all. Oh, also I'm going to spray it with a little bit of butter-flavored nonstick spray. If you don't have a panini press, you can use a regular skillet, non-stick skillet. Make sure it's hot. Then put something weighted on top of it, like a cast iron skillet or something that you can have the ability to press down. Now here I have a panini press. It's a grill pan with a panini press on top. I got them on the oven. I'm heating them up to get them good and hot because now we're going to make a pressed grilled cheese sandwich, basically, which makes it the signature Cuban. So I'm going to give this side a quick little spray, which I did, and now I'm pressing it down. I'm going to even help it out. Now this thing weighs a little bit, my press, but I'm still going to give it a little extra something something. Now because both the top and the bottom of my press is hot, we don't need to flip it, but we're going to let this go for about 4 minutes, maybe 5 at the most. Depends how hot your pan is. So I'm going to give that a little extra additional pushy push, and look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Let's take that baby off of there. And so we're going to put this on a cutting board, and we're going to put on the other half so I can cook it. Now, because my press is not electric, I sprayed that down, but because my press is not electric, I am going to flip this one because now the top part of the press there is no longer as hot as it was for the first sandwich. So I'm going to cook it a couple minutes on each side. And then, bam, would you look at that. Crunchy goodness on the outside, yumminess on the inside. Now I'm cutting this into fourths because I have a family dinner going on. Let me just show you the inside of this sandwich. Holy crap, your mouth is getting ready to water. In 3, 2, 1. Booyah! Look at that. You got the pork, the cheese, the ham, the pickle. I'm here to tell you, this was a huge hit. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you make it.